Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be taking a look at this source called AI Debates, Navigating the Ethical Crossroads of AI.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And we're going to be tackling four key areas, and we'll get to those in a sec. But like that thing in the news last week with the self-driving car,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I saw that too.
making that weird decision.
Yeah,
That kind of gets into some of what we're talking about today.
for sure. It really shows these debates aren't just theoretical anymore. Like, they're impacting our lives right now. That's what makes this deep dive so important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump right in. First up is AI ethics. So apparently the EU has this new AI governance proposal. It's causing quite a stir globally. It basically comes down to how do we ensure that AI respects our human rights and privacy, but doesn't, kill innovation.
Yeah, that's a tough one. The source we're looking at actually talks about this with Dr. Helen Park. She's like a major voice in AI ethics, and she's all about those strong ethical guidelines, like built into the fabric of AI itself.
Okay, so like almost like a safety net.
Exactly. Because if we're going to trust AI to make decisions that impact our lives, like those decisions got to be fair, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But the source also brings up this counter argument.
Mm.
This tech entrepreneur, Leo Silva, he's worried that too much regulation will stifle creativity and innovation.
Yeah, I can see his point.
Like, it's like telling a painter they can only use certain colors. What if there's this groundbreaking AI app that's going to get buried under red tape?
It's like, how do we balance progress with protection? That's what the source keeps highlighting. Like, imagine an AI app that could totally revolutionize healthcare,
Oh, yeah.
but it needs access to like a lot of sensitive patient data.
Oh, I see.
How do we make sure people's privacy is protected while still, allowing for that innovation? Tough questions.
It really makes you think, where do you stand on all of this? Do you go for tight regulations, play it safe, or do you give developers more freedom to push the boundaries?
Yeah, there are definitely no easy answers.
For sure. But hey, speaking of tough choices, let's talk about AI and jobs. This is a big one. The source mentioned this statistic. It says some major corporation is planning to automate like 50% of its workforce.
Wow, 50%. That's a big number. No wonder people are freaking out a little.
Yeah, for sure. But the source also has this economist, Dr. Mia Lin. She's actually pretty optimistic. She thinks it's not about job destruction, it's more like job evolution.
Oh, interesting.
So instead of replacing us, AI is going to reshape the way we work.
Okay, so how does she see that playing out in the real world? Like, what's that going to look like?
Well, she talks about all these new job categories that'll pop up because of AI.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about it. Someone's got to train those AI systems
Oh, right.
and then analyze all the data they generate, make sure they're used ethically. You're talking about AI trainers, data analysts, even AI ethicists like we were just talking about.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's less about competing with AI and more about working alongside it,
Mm-hmm.
adapting, figuring out new ways to collaborate.
Okay, that's a more hopeful picture for sure. But the source doesn't ignore the people who are worried either.
Right. It brings up a labor leader, Jack Thompson. He's concerned about the people who might get left behind, those who don't have the skills or the resources to adapt to these new AI jobs. What happens to them?
It's a valid concern. Like, we can't just focus on the shiny new technology and ignore the human cost. The source is saying we need strong safety nets, training programs that everyone can access, and policies that actually support workers during this shift.
Yeah, this is getting into some big picture stuff. I mean, it feels like this whole AI and jobs debate is forcing us to rethink the future of work entirely, doesn't it?
Totally. It's not just about AI, it's about education, it's about social safety nets, it's about, like, what does work even mean in this new world?
Exactly. I mean, it's a lot to think about.
It is. It really is. Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? It really makes you think about like the whole future of work. But, we've also got to think about whether this crazy fast AI development is like putting us at risk.
Yeah, that's where things get a little scary.
Right. I mean, the source mentions this recent AI system failure, and even though they don't give specifics, it's like, whoa, this stuff isn't perfect.
Right. Like a wake-up call, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Like, remember all those stories about those self-driving cars malfunctioning?
Oh, yeah.
Or those algorithms that were, like, making biased decisions? And, like, suddenly the risks are very real.
Very real. Tangible, not just some abstract idea.
Right. And the source kind of dives into this whole AI safety debate with, like, two different points of view.
Yeah, it's interesting. So on one side, you've got this AI safety expert, Dr. Alan Green. And his take is that every time an AI messes up, every glitch, every failure, it's a chance to learn.
Oh, interesting.
So like Each failure helps us make those safety protocols better, build more robust systems, like a feedback loop.
Oh, so he's not, like, afraid of those failures. He sees them as part of the process.
Yeah, it's pretty optimistic.
Yeah.
But it makes sense when you think about it. Like every
Yeah.
time a plane has an issue, it leads to improvements in aviation safety. Oh, yeah, right.
It's the same with AI. The source really emphasizes that this is still early days for this tech. And Dr. Green thinks these challenges aren't setbacks, they're like valuable lessons that'll lead to safer and more reliable AI systems.
Okay, yeah, I get that. But the source also has this counter argument. This cybersecurity analyst, Sarah Vega, she's saying we're rushing into all this AI stuff without the right safeguards.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin.
Like building a skyscraper without a good foundation? What if an AI system fails and the consequences are, like, disastrous?
Yeah, and the source doesn't shy away from, like, the worst case scenarios. What if an AI that controls, like, critical infrastructure malfunctions?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Or some super advanced AI gets used for, like, evil purposes? These aren't just hypotheticals anymore, They could really happen.
It's a little freaky to think about, but I think it's good that the source is bringing it up. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, let's have a real conversation about this,
Yeah,
about how to do this responsibly.
that's it exactly. It's not just about, oh, wow, look at all the cool things AI can do. We've got to acknowledge the risks, too.
Hmm.
The source is pushing for a balanced approach. Like, sure, push the boundaries, innovate, but make sure safety is the top priority.
Okay, so like find that sweet spot between innovation and being cautious.
Exactly. But how do we actually do that? How do we make sure AI development doesn't get ahead of our ability to, like, control it?
That's a good question.
Well, the source talks about a multi-pronged approach. It's like we need those strong ethical guidelines, those rigorous testing protocols. We need a culture of transparency and accountability in the AI world.
So it's not just about the people in the labs figuring this out. It's about society being a part of this, right?
Exactly. It can't just be happening in Silicon Valley. We got to democratize this whole AI conversation.
I like to democratize it. So it's happening in classrooms, in community centers, like around the dinner table even.
Totally. It's not just a cool new tech. It's something that's going to change the world. And we all need to be part of that conversation.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And this actually leads perfectly into our final debate for today, which takes us from these present-day worries to a future that's kind of mind-blowing. So the source talks about this thing called a Type 1 civilization.
Oh, yeah, the Kardashev scale.
Right, exactly. And for our listeners who maybe haven't heard of that, basically it's a civilization that can use all the energy on its planet.
Whoa, like, that's some serious sci-fi stuff.
Right, it is. But the source suggests that AI could be the key to getting us there.
Wow, okay.
And like with everything else we've talked about today, there are two sides to this, the potential and the, potential danger.
Right, so what are the two sides in this case?
Well, you've got this environmental scientist, Dr. Omar Patel, and he's pretty optimistic. He thinks AI could be like our partner in taking care of the planet.
Okay, interesting.
He's thinking about AI helping us tackle huge problems like climate change, managing our resources better.
So, like, AI is the ultimate sustainability tool.
Yeah, exactly. Like having this super intelligent assistant helping us manage the entire planet. Pretty cool.
I mean, it sounds amazing, but
But as with any powerful tool, there's the potential for, misuse.
right, exactly. And the source brings up this philosopher, Dr. Elise Dubois. She's like, whoa, hold on a second. What if we give AI too much control?
Yeah, I can see her point.
What if we end up surrendering our autonomy to a machine? Even if it's for the greater good,
That is a really trippy thought. It's like, at what point do we lose control?
Right. And the source doesn't give us the answers, of course, but it's making us ask those questions, which
Well,
I think is important.
Yeah, for sure. We've gone from talking about algorithms and bias to, like, the nature of humanity. It's pretty deep.
It is. It shows how multi-layered all this is. We have to think critically, not just about the tech itself, but about society, about ethics, even about who we are as humans.
Yeah, exactly. We've covered so much in this deep dive,
Yeah.
like from ethics to jobs to this crazy Type 1 civilization thing. It's a lot to take in, and I'm sure our listeners are like, whoa, what does it all mean?
Totally. So in the last part of this deep dive, we're going to try to bring it all together. What are the key takeaways? How do we navigate all of this? How do we make sure AI serves us, not the other way around?
Yeah, good question. So stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. And honestly, after that last part, my brain is kind of fried. thinking about AI controlling the entire planet, that's some serious stuff.
It is. It is. And this whole deep dive has been like a roller coaster. One minute, it's all hope and possibility. The next minute, it's like, whoa, should we even be doing this?
Right. The source we've been looking at, it doesn't give us any easy answers.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the point, right? It's like it wants us to wrestle with these questions, figure out where we stand.
Yeah, exactly. Like we were saying in the beginning, these aren't just theoretical debates anymore. This stuff is affecting our lives right now, and it's going to have a huge impact on the future.
So let's try to bring it all together. What are some key takeaways? Where do we go from here?
Okay, so first, we started with AI ethics. Remember that. The tension between letting AI innovate freely and setting those ethical guidelines. It's a tough balance.
Yeah, where do you draw the line?
Right, and the source really emphasizes that there's no one right answer. It's going to depend on the specific situation, the potential benefits, the risks involved, but we have to have that conversation.
We can't just ignore it.
Exactly. And then we talked about AI and jobs, and that was like a whole spectrum of opinions, from job evolution to potential job losses to the need for those safety nets.
Yeah, and it's not just about learning new skills. It's about making sure everyone benefits from this AI revolution,
Yeah.
that no one gets left behind.
The source was really clear about that. Like, it's got to be a societal effort. Policymakers, educators, everyone has a role to play.
Okay, so we've got to be proactive.
Totally. Then there was the whole question of AI safety. And honestly, that was kind of scary, thinking about those worst case scenarios. Like, what if we lose control?
Yeah, that's a tough one. But I think the source is saying, let's not bury our heads in the sand. Let's acknowledge the risks. Let's talk about them.
Exactly. We need those strong ethical guidelines, those testing protocols, and we need to hold the people developing these systems accountable.
And like you were saying before, we need an informed public. People who are aware of what's going on, who can ask those tough questions.
Right. It's not just about the tech experts. It's about all of us.
Yeah. And then that final debate, AI and type 1 civilization, I mean, that was just, wow. AI potentially helping us solve climate change, manage our resources, but also maybe taking over completely.
It's mind-blowing, right? The potential is huge, but so are the risks. And the source is basically saying, think long-term. Don't just focus on the immediate benefits. Think about the bigger picture.
So, okay, after all of this, what can our listeners do? I mean, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all of this.
I know. But the first thing is just stay informed. Read articles. Listen to podcasts like this one.
Right.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. The more you understand about AI, the better you can navigate all of this.
Makes sense.
And be mindful of how you interact with AI in your own life. All those algorithms that are shaping your online experience. Question them. Be aware of the data you're sharing. Push for transparency from the companies developing these systems.
So it's like be an active participant, not just a passive consumer.
Exactly. And remember, the future of AI isn't set in stone. It's something we're creating together. So have these conversations with your friends, your family, your coworkers. The more voices we have, the better chance we have of shaping a future that works for everyone.
That's a great message to end on. I mean, this has been an intense deep dive, but a really important one. I think the main takeaway is this is on us. We have to be engaged, we have to be informed, we have to be proactive.
Absolutely. The choices we make today will shape the future of AI and the future of humanity.
Well said. So thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back next week with another one, and that one's going to focus on AI and creativity. Until then, keep those brains buzzing, keep asking those questions, and we'll see you next time.